Got it. Yay.
Okay, hold on.
Okay, wait till you're ready.
Okay, can everybody see our lovely Penrose PowerPoint?
Looking good.
Excellent.
Yes, indeed.
All right.
And this is totally Alex's effort. So, okay, so here's.
I didn't give you credit on the slide, Pete.
Yeah, I don't deserve it.
Now, do we want everyone to mute for the time being until we're getting ready to discuss at the end?
That's a good
That would be
thing.
great. I'd
We
appreciate
have
that.
chat. We have chat stuff. All right. Okay.
So some of you have seen this previously. Tonight's agenda, we're going to start off with our treasurer's report and membership update on the next slide. And thank you, Pete, for sending me that info. We got it in there just in the nick of time, which is great.
Okay.
And then Alistair, you'll be up in a few minutes. And Alistair is the co-chair of the school bond campaign on the upcoming APS school bond on the November ballot. Then at 7:30, we're going to have a presentation from Juan Du, the landscape architect project manager from Arlington County Parks and Recreation on the upcoming Towers Park renovation slated for Q4 2021. Then at 8, we're going to have a presentation from Whitney Kernoodle. She is the president of the Black Parents of Arlington and a steering committee member of Arlington for Justice on the upcoming Ride for Black Lives on October 2nd. Then at 8:15, we'll discuss our upcoming Penrose officer election. So as you all know, Pete is stepping down. I am currently the only person running uncontested for the presidency. Pete is either going to become our secretary or treasurer. George is going to stay on as VP, so we'll figure out what we'll do with that. Darcy is going to stay on as NCAC representative, which is fantastic. And we're glad to have Stephanie on with us as our form-based code representative. So next slide. So for our treasurer's report, our total cash on hand as of, well, today's now 9/21. So we got $3,776 in our coffers, which is great. And we, as of today, we have 45 official dues paying members. So my goal is to get that up to well over 100. So we'll keep going. And yep, Pete's doing our happy dance. So thank you all so much for really pushing the membership drive. Well, that'll be an ongoing effort. All right, Alistair, here's your intro. And you're lucky I didn't use that picture of you at the pie eating contest with the pie all over your face.
Next time, right?
Yep. Alistair is the co-chair of the school bond campaign. And what's going to be on the ballot is, shall Arlington County contract the debt and issue its general obligation bonds in the maximum principal amount of $23,010,000 to finance, together with other available funds, the cost of various capital projects for Arlington County Public Schools. So I'm going to leave this up here. I tried to find this graphic with all the info that was a little bit sharper. It's a little blurry, but I can leave that on while you talk. Is that okay, Alistair?
That's wonderful. And actually, that's I'm going to be stating some facts off of that page as well, so you can follow along with me.
Awesome. I'll take it away, Alistair.
Well, first, I just wanted to say it's good to see so many familiar faces: Pete, Alex, Steph, even Darcy, and also obviously JD, Ian. Hi, this is obviously somewhat unusual circumstances. I was really shocked to be nominated and selected as bond co-chair. I serve with Rebecca Hunter, and I am a native Arlingtonian and a graduate of the Arlington Public School System, just like Alex and Ian, and perhaps someone else. And if you are, please unmute and just tell the room if you're a graduate.
Might be just the three of us.
That might just be the three of us, I think, okay. Yes. Oh, yeah, and JD, I knew that you were a Penrosian.
No, I'm a native Arlingtonian and a graduate of Yorktown High School, and the entirety of my education, elementary and secondary, was in the Arlington County Public Schools.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Arthur. Well,
and also I
grew up in Arlington. I went to Barcroft for kindergarten, first grade, Patrick Henry through elementary, TJ, and graduate of Wakefield.
I'm an import.
I went to
Wonderful.
Catholic school.
Oh. Well, this is, not only did I do this just as a little bit of an icebreaker, but also this bond, I think, is the first in a few years where it's changes that are going to be immediately impactful. And here's why. So one of the major, in fact, the second most amount of money that this $23 million, $10,000 is going to is kitchen renovations, which I wanted to start. So when Alex and I were talking about this and getting me on the agenda, he asked, is it going to improve the quality of the food? And I can report with excitement that yes, Arlington County Public Schools are going to get fresher vegetables, more fruits, and just overall healthier foods. That is also in addition to what is called storage and prep improved lines. Sorry, those are two things: storage and prep and improved lines. So at certain schools, namely Campbell, Drew, Randolph, and Swanson, there's only one line to get students into the service area. And that actually slows down the serving of the food dramatically, and to the point where students have actually less time to eat. And obviously, if you eat too fast, that's bad for your belly. And this will now make it so that there are at least two lines at every single public school, which will then cut the wait in half. That is also coupled with the fact that I think this is actually an Obama era regulation called the, I'm going to check it out here because you guys might be interested in knowing this. Yeah, the National School Lunch Program. And that is requires that food is refrigerated and actually prepared in-house. Believe it or not, there is actually some food that is not just defrosted and baked, but actually requires some preparation. And the staff members were actually complaining about how little space they had. So this is another instance of a concern being addressed. Now onto the Heights building renovation. So I know that this is a little bit of a long, perhaps touchy subject. It's certainly confusing. If anyone saw my embarrassing moment at the Civic Federation a couple days ago, I completely butchered what the precise details of this. And so Barbara, Kennenem School Board Chair, followed up with me and graciously explained to me exactly what it is. So the Heights building renovation, this has been going on for years. We've all heard about it. So it is going to be changed to include underground parking and improved access for Shriver students. And in addition, a lighted turf field for school and community use. That's going to be $11,390,000 of the $23,010,000. And then finally, at 6 schools, Campbell, Kenmore, Hoffman, Boston, Langston, Long Branch, and Swanson, there are going to be several construction changes in order to make it clear for visitors, especially those visitors with bad intention, that gestures all visitors that they have to go to the front desk first. So you guys have probably been into some of these schools, perhaps to use some of their community facilities, and you probably feel like you could just sneak on by the front desk. And that obviously is a safety concern. We actually saw just yesterday, there was a school shooting in Virginia Beach, at a public school in Virginia Beach. And so this will clear up and make sure that everyone's gestured. So there's going to be a wall or some sort of fence, and it's just everyone has to go to the front desk. Obviously, during a school day, this is not the case. It's not going to gesture all the students who are coming off the school bus to go to the front desk, but That's the situation. And that's just shy of $1 million. And then I can also, before I go into Q&A, I also wanted to say that I really hope that you vote yes on the ballot. You know, Arlington has a very good record when it comes to bonds, and so we don't have generally any problems. I can understand that some of you might feel that some of these projects go on for a very long time, and perhaps the money isn't being used appropriately. And I just want to let you know, no questions off the table. You can ask me anything. And finally, this was planned out several years ago, and this is part of the last generation CIP. Thank you so much. Alistair Watson out.
Thank you, Alistair. I had a quick first question. I'm going through here to see if anybody has their hand raised or any other questions. Has there been any pushback against this? Any supporters opposed or people opposed to this? And what's their rationale behind it? It seems to me like a no-brainer to vote yes.
Well, there has been pushback. Earlier today, the Arlington GOP announced the results from their member survey, and out of 126 surveyed, 75% put down that they do not support this bond initiative. Their feelings are fiscal responsibility, and in addition, because of their perhaps their frustration with critical race theory and also the schools being closed. Since this is the only school bond on the ballot, it's just kind of a way for them to vent. But I'm trying to speak at the next GOP meeting in order to quell some fears and explain, because I firmly believe that a lot of people have not looked at this as closely.
Awesome. We'll start with Pete. He's got our hand up. And then we'll go to Darcy.
Okay, my question is in the Heights building, is this because when it was built, it didn't have adequate parking? I think I used to know the what happened, but I can't recall.
That's right. So it was built with not adequate parking, and in addition, there was a ramp for wheelchair users and other mobility devices, and the design caused that to be what's obstructed, but no ADA violations were incurred. And then secondly, you guys all know where this building is, right? Or do you need some help putting it in your mental map?
Go ahead and explain. I don't think everybody knows.
Where is it?
Okay, sure. So let me pull up the actual. So you might know of it as the Eunice Kennedy Shriver. That's the full name. So ultimately, the Shriver program is a secondary school for students that have special needs, particularly autism. And it has a principal and everything. And it is located it's not too far away from HP Woodland.
Yeah, it's up on Lee Highway. I think I used to pass by it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely on Lee Highway.
And in Cherrydale. Yeah. At the old HQ. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's on
North Lee
1601
Highway.
Wilson Boulevard.
Around Wilson, rather. Okay. Darcy, did you have a question? I know Pete has another question.
Go ahead. Let Pete ask her question and then come to me, please.
Sure.
Thank
No, I think you answered my question. I think my only comment is there go the schools again, you know, and the county meddles with their push to cut back on parking and, here we are again, having to spend more money because they idealistically said, nobody's gonna need a car. Anyway, yeah, I get really frustrated with that stuff, so I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, this is Darcy. I have a short series of questions, possibly depending on what your answers are, Alistair.
Yeah.
So thank you for taking the time to be here with us. That's very helpful. My first question is, how long is the school supposed to last? 50 years, 100 years, or 25 years? And how long will it take to pay off the bond for the school? In real dollars.
Well, it's going to be here for the 100 years, meaning for as long as possible, because the Shriver Secondary Program is immensely popular. And your second question was, that like the repayment, right? Like,
yeah, how long is the repayment on this?
It is 4 years, I believe.
4 years?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Now,
Yeah.
my other question pertains to, and this kind of comes with, I can understand why people don't support school bond issues, but I'll support a school bond issue usually because my background's in education, higher education, and it's cheaper to educate somebody, in my opinion, than it is to jail them. That's the short succinct of it. And it is kind of an odd statement, but education is an investment, not an expense. My concern about the expenses is that the school board over the past few years, when it comes time to balance their budget, they don't balance their budget. They just send it on up to the county board. And I want to know if the school board members are going to be able to start balancing their budget, or if you're not the one to ask this question. And if the county board is going to one day say to the school board, no, you have to balance your budget before you send it to us. So are there any steps being made to make sure that the school board balances their budget before they continue to send requests to the county board for approval?
Well, I don't know the answer, and I'm not trying to be diplomatic here. I genuinely don't. I'm merely more of like the cheerleader for the bond initiative. But I have the hotline to Barbara Canningham, who's the school board chair, and I will definitely put your concern to her and definitely make sure that she responds to you quickly. So, Darcy, would you put your email, send it to me in the chat?
Well, let me offer an idea to Alex. Alex, for a future meeting guest, could we have Barbara come?
Absolutely.
So we can
I'm just going to say we can have her or Mary or but let's have her. Yeah.
Or Reed Goldstein, somebody to come and answer these questions. I think it would be very enlightening, especially if you're looking for, support for a school bond. And I really believe the school bonds, will probably pass because many of the bonds do pass in the elections, but it would be helpful to have a school board member here. So I think I would prefer to do that. I don't need a personal answer. I think it would be best for the whole group to have an answer. But those are all my questions right now. Thank you very much, Alistair.
You betcha, Darcy.
Okay. Thank you, Alistair.
Yeah, I see some, I saw the chat, some notifications. I just wanted to go through here.
Okay.
JD's Penrosian. JD, how would you pronounce that? Would it be Penrosian or Penrosian?
Penrosian.
Penrosian.
I love that. And yes, I did know that you were.
Were there any questions pertaining to the school bond? Oh, Steph has her hand up.
Okay, yes, Steph.
So I did put in the chat window. So be careful about the claim about 100 years. Most Arlington buildings are only built for 30 years. So you can reference 100 years for the program if you choose, but please get the facts right about the buildings, especially for Arlington. And then the other concern, so if you're wondering why people will not support the bond, I have grave concerns for spending an extra $11 million on a brand new building that was not properly designed or scheduled. And I realized Barbara kept saying, oh, there's a free fire station. You could have gotten a fire station for cheaper than $11 million. So yeah, there are some reasons. It's not just about critical race theory about why people are against this bond. The other thing to be aware of is our career center. We have pushed for a proper community school with community amenities repeatedly at Career Center. We were told we did not need parking, did not need underground parking. So there's a lot of frustration with what happened to South Arlington and the Career Center. So please get up to date with some of those other issues and don't reference that people are against schools just because of critical race theory.
Yeah, that's a really good comment. And also, Alistair, you might remember what happened at Fleet when they cut back on the parking. And then they had to figure out a way to get parking because they couldn't hire people and substitutes wouldn't go there. So, we have seen this history of schools in Arlington County insisting on this idealistic desire not to have cars in Arlington. But if you build for that, it's a failure because the world is not that way. So.
And I know that Penrose is one of the closest civic associations to the Career Center. So you have definitely like felt the brunt of this. Just to be clear, yes, I did mean that the program would last 100 years, but the building, the integrity of the building, I appreciate Steph and I'll take her word because Steph is as sharp as they come. 30 years, and the I also see a link here to the HB Woodlawn closed after sprinkler mishap.
So this is some of the frustration when it can, Tarzi somewhat talked about it too, that, the schools, school board and the school's budget, there's not a lot of oversight. They don't have to be balanced about it, because when I do private sector construction, I've had to deal with it in the past. This would have come out of hide from the contractor, not that the person paying the bills would have had to pay that. That was a contractor error. There's multiple contractor errors about these projects going on. So there's multiple reasons for people not being willing to vote for this bond. And the other thing to clarify with the bond, and this is a question for you as bond co-chair, these are the recommended items to pay for, but in the wording of the actual bond, there's no guarantee that these particular items will be paid for from this bond. Is that a correct statement?
The money will go to these items.
Are they named in the bond that we actually approve on voting day? Are they called out by name?
You mean the kitchen renovations, the actual schools?
The wording is the vague wording closer to what's up on top. So this is what's being proposed to be used for the bonds, but it is not a guarantee. This is where the schools will spend the bond money.
No, this is guaranteed. This is where the bond money will go. The kitchen renovations will go to 4 schools: Campbell, Drew, Randolph, and Swanson.
Double check the wording on the actual bond for what people are voting for.
Yeah. This slide here is what the wording should be on the ballot, to my best knowledge.
That's right. Yeah, that's what's on the ballot.
So again, this comes back with South Arlington Career Center. We had voted at different times to support the Career Center, and all of that was taken away.
Yeah, the schools has the track record again of using bond money for things that were not specified in the bond. And like Stephanie said, the Career Center was that kind of effort.
Yeah, I know, and that was my frustration too. And I double checked with before I confirmed when they reached out to me, and I was like, is this going to be a clear-cut, honest, integral bond, meaning where the money's spent where it's said? And sorry for my confusion. That's what in the introduction slide that Alex made, that's what's going to be on the ballot. And they said, the school board members, all 5 of them said, yes, this is in fact what the money is going to. This $23,010,000 is going to kitchen renovations at 4 schools: Campbell, Drew, Randolph, and Swanson. the entrance renovations at Campbell, Kenmore, Hoffman, Boston, Langston, Long Branch, and Swanson, and the Heights building renovation, which includes a lighted turf field for school and community use.
Okay. I don't doubt that's what you were told. However, as Stephanie says, and as we've all seen, sometimes they say stuff and then it ends up not being what they say. And that's not no reflection on you. It's just kind of a track record.
Well, I understand. And I would be very upset if this is another instance of that. Because this is a lot of work. Ordering yard signs, putting up yard signs, and so on and so forth.
Oh yeah, I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
I know you're doing your best job on it. So, just listen and we'll see what happens, because it's likely to be. It is likely to be accepted.
Meredith, do you have a question?
I do. So if the initiative, the bond is voted down, is there a do-over opportunity? As far as it sounds like there's a lot of interest in things like kitchen renovations and that kind of stuff. Like that's very important. But there's a lot more argument over the Heights building and what would be done there. So, is there opportunity for, a pause, a do-over? I don't know how to phrase it, but it doesn't sound like all of this is necessarily what the community wants.
Well, the last bond to not pass was in 1975, the last school bond. And I see Pete laughing. Definitely, Arlington is a pretty bond happy, perhaps, county. If this bond does not pass, then these promises will not be fulfilled as quickly or as seamlessly as it would if the bond passes. Now let's talk about the plan B and plan C and plan D. It would be getting perhaps money from the Arlington County Board, or it would be waiting until the next best election where this bond could be on the ballot. And that's really all there is to it. I mean, there's a lot in this bond.
Thank you.
Yeah. So if you like what is in this bond, first and foremost, and you feel confident that this money will actually be used for these programs, and I'm here telling you that I feel confident, and I like the what this money is being used for, because I don't want the same old food, and I also want this Shriver fiasco behind us, and I also want to make sure that the school visitors during non-school hours are being checked. Then the best way is to vote yes on the bond. But if you have any more concerns, Alex will give you my contact, and I'll get you in contact with the school board. Barbara Cananim, who's the school board chair, in fact.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Alistair. I appreciate you coming on and giving us some details about that. And we'll be sure to follow up with you and perhaps have Barbara on our next month's meeting. So,
sounds good.
Yeah.
One last thing is, remember election days, November 2nd. There are 3 ways to vote. You can vote early, and there are 5 locations in Arlington starting September 17th. You can vote by mail, and you have to request a ballot by October 21st. Or you can vote in person at your polling place. We all know Arlington has 54 precincts, and that would be on 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. on November 2nd. And all of this help, checking voter registration, requesting in-mail ballot, you can go to vote.arlingtonva.us. And that never gets fun that never stops being fun to say. That's a killer URL, vote.arlingtonva.us. There you go. Yes.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to stick around and just. Did JD? Did you have
JD had
a
one
question?
question. Then we're gonna move to Juan's presentation. Go ahead, JD.
Just so I can be clear, who are you representing today in this presentation, Alistair?
Yeah, I'm the school board bond chair this year.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, they just asked if I was interested, and then I had a couple questions about what it would entail, obviously, like where the money is going and my concerns about, other previous bonds and so on and so forth. And then I said, yeah, sure.
I have a question. This is Darcy.
Yeah.
It's brief. I think it would be helpful if when you're promoting stuff for bond issues, that school board state what the program, any accreditation that the schools have for public information as a way to inform, educate, and guide voters in supporting the bonds that you want. Colleges and universities put that right on their webpage, and it's important. People may not understand the purpose of accreditation, but it is a standard that that schools are following, that they've met to become accredited. So I think that would be helpful.
Well, that accreditation actually might be online.
But the point is that people aren't always going to look online for information. You put it in front of them when you're doing your promotional effort, and you don't put it on a ballot, of course, but you put it out there as information to let people know, remind them, because people have a short memory sometimes, they don't care, but it's a way to let people know.
Okay, sounds good. I'm going to make a note of that.
Just a suggestion.
No, that's a very good suggestion.
Okay, thank you, Darcy. All right, I want to turn it over. Yep, Juan is with us. Excellent. So thank you so much, Alistair. And be sure to I'll drop Alistair's follow-up contact details in the chat before we close out, and I'll send that in our Penrose group IO. So next on our agenda this evening, we have Mr. Juan Wu. He is the Landscape Architect Project Manager with Arlington County Parks and Recreation, and he's going to be giving us a rundown of the Towers Park playground renovations. Juan, are you here?
Hi everyone. Hi.
Oh, I'm sorry, miss. I apologize. Go ahead.
Can you guys hear me? Hi. Can I share my screen?
Oh yes, absolutely. Let me get out of this. I put these here in there, but if you want to share, that's totally cool. So I'll let you share your screen right here.
Okay, I am trying to share. It's here. So good evening, everyone. My name is Juan Du. I am a landscape architect and a project manager for the Towers Park Playground renovations project. Together with me from the Department of Parks and Recreation is our design supervisor, Bernadette. Would you mind introducing yourself? Hello?
Sure, just give me a quick second.
Sure.
Hi, everyone. This is Bernadette. Nice meeting you. I'm here just to help support Juan and answer questions if you have any. Thanks.
Thank you, Bernadette. So thank you all for inviting us to this meeting. We are here to provide updates about the project and the timeline. What you are seeing here is actually the final construction plan. So let's do a brief review first. So when a playground is reaching its lifespan about 20 to 25 years, it needs an update. Other than being a little bit outdated for the existing playground, I want to mention two facts. One is the existing playground was designed for younger age children of 2 to 5 years old only. And the second is that as you can find from the aerial photo, the playground is right inside the resource protection area. By the way, are you guys all familiar with what a resource protection area is?
I have an inkling on that. If you could elaborate a little bit on it. And I'm personally curious how this was finally designated as a resource protection area, because that creek's been there as long as I've been here in Penrose. So
Right. I think I believe there was a update from the policy side. It's back in 2017. So the resource protection area, what was called RPA, includes streams, rivers, and other water bodies and environmentally sensitive lands within 100 feet of the water resource. Those areas are known as stream buffers and help protect water quality. More information about RPA can be found from the Building Arlington website. So in our playground capital improvement projects, we always try to upgrade to serve both younger and older children, which was defined as 2 to 5 years old is younger group and 5 to 12 is the older group. Sometimes we can, while other times we would be limited to accommodate both age group. Here at the Towers Park new playground site, here, we are very excited to be able to serve both younger and older age children. At the same time, we are moving the playground outside RPA to help protect water quality. In addition, in the new playground location, as you can find from the map, it's here. It is right next to the existing picnic shelter, which is generally desirable for caregivers of the children who will be using the playground. Okay. So the design process started in spring 2019. We had 2 community engagement meetings. The first one was held in Carver Community Center in April 2019, and the second one held on site at the picnic shelter next to the new playground in June 2019. We received the community feedback and we tried our best to answer the requests as much as possible. For example, given the limited space we have and with the mission for tree protection, we made sure to accommodate both infant swings and ones for older children. Swings generally take a lot of space for the safety requirement because children need adequate room to move around. And we were able to add more seating that you will be able to find on the final plan in a moment. And the design was completed in fall 2019 and went through permitting in early 2020. We then hit the pandemic, and this playground was temporarily on hold together with many other capital improvement projects around the county. Finally, the project went out for bid this past February. Unfortunately, after the pandemic, the materials cost inflated and all bids came back higher than our budget. We then went back to adjust the design to reduce the cost closer to our budget so we could move forward for approval and construction. We went out for bid a second time this past June. Once again, the bids were still slightly higher than the budget. The Department of Parks and Recreation and the County Purchasing Department worked together and was able to negotiate with the lowest bidder so we could move forward for the board approval this past Saturday. And we got approval. So here is our updated design. We have so many wonderful mature trees around, and we tried to consolidate the new playground footprint as much as possible to stay away from the trees. We kept the topography. We kept the topography change in the original design roughly along the blue line, this blue line. One side lower, this side is lower, and one side higher to add more interest to the play experience. And the pink dash line is here. The pink dash line roughly separates the younger children play area from the older children. And structure number 1 for older children is here with the big slide. Structure number 2 for younger children offers more play features compared to the previous version. We were able to keep the net twister here at number 3, and we have the swings for both babies and older children at 4 and 5. During the design adjustment, we reviewed the community comments again and explored more economical options to provide desired play experience. For example, several community members were concerned that the previous jellyfish tower looked cool, but seemed to offer limited play features. So here is the new tower on the right-hand side to substitute jellyfish on the left. As you can see, the new tower offers a variety of different play activities. Instead of a maximum capacity of 18 children for the jellyfish, the new tower can accommodate 30 children. You can find the details of this new tower called Sky Twister at our project website. And here are the net twister, the swings in the back, and the structure for younger children. Again, we were able to provide more play experience here, including a second ADA swing. ADA slide in the new 2-to-5, in this new 2-to-5 structure. The feature I like the most in this structure is actually the shade design on the top. This triangle frame with colored translucent panels are able to move by the wind and projecting cool moving shadows on the ground. And of course, everyone liked the net twister. We were very fortunate to be able to keep this piece of equipment in our final design. So this concludes our update. Are there any questions?
Thank you so much, Mr. I live right actually at the intersection of 9th and Rolfe. So I remember when they were building the latest playground that's getting renovated decades ago. I had a few quick questions that my neighbors have been asking me about. Has there been a specific date the construction's planning on starting? Can we expect late October, November, December?
I want to, refer back to this timeline. We just got the board approval last Saturday, and we expect to start a construction in the next month or so. Bernadette, would you agree?
Yes. So what happens once we have the board approval, our purchasing office is now authorized to reach out to the lowest responsible bidder and begin the contractual signing. And once we have an executed contract, we can then request a purchase order, and then our construction managers can then reach out to the contractor to determine what will be the notice to proceed. Generally, that can take anywhere between a month to about a month and a half. It all depends on how quickly people, respond to the documents and we get everything completed. So what we would do is definitely notify the community at least 2 weeks in advance of once a date has been agreed upon with the contractor. So as Joanne said, it would probably be next month, potentially into early November. That's kind of the best we can estimate.
That's very helpful. I greatly appreciate that. And I had some other folks asking about, are any of the other facilities, such as the basketball court, the tennis courts, parking situation, any of these things to be impacted as construction is slated to begin?
Joanne, you want me to go ahead and tackle that one?
Yeah, please.
Sure. So we don't know, the rest of the park will remain open. So that would be everything from the basketball court. Of course, there will be some construction fence near the basketball court because there will be construction activity happening near that, as well as near the picnic shelter. We will probably assign about 2 to 3 spots for the construction, parking spots, for the construction, so they're able to store their equipment on site. And as I said, there will be construction fence adjacent to the courts and the picnic shelter, but those items will remain open. And anything on the other side, like the tennis courts and the dog park, all that should remain open.
Perfect. You answered both my questions. Thank you.
Sure.
Anybody else have any questions or comments, concerns regarding the Towers Park renovations?
Yeah, this is Darcy. I have just one question and a comment. My comment is I'm glad that the park is additions will be made. I think they're a good idea. And it should be fun for all the little ones and everyone else who uses the park. My question is, how long is the construction period, please?
It would be about 8 months or so, right, Bernadette?
Yes, we normally give based on the size of the renovation. We typically give anywhere between 6 to 8 months, but we're finding that that's pushing more towards the 8 months. My guess is honestly, given the impact on the industry in terms of, like the COVID, the pandemic has had an impact on delivery of materials, that while we're going to try our darndest, don't be surprised if it goes towards the latter part and it takes a little bit longer than that, because we're just completing or wrapping up 2 playgrounds, and they were both affected in terms of delivery of the play equipment. So the play equipment is not manufactured. It's not like we go to the shelf, you can go to a shelf and just pick out what you want. The suppliers and the manufacturers will not start fabrication until they receive an order. So the first thing we try to tell our contractor is submit what we call shop drawings to make sure that they're going to be purchasing the right equipment. Then they take that submittal, which we stamp and approve, and then they give that to the manufacturer, and then they can start. Play equipment is a long lead item, meaning it can take a while to manufacture, and typically it's anywhere between 12 and 16 weeks just to manufacture the equipment. So if you add to that just the delays, and that's because of the raw materials, it takes a while for the raw materials to come in, that could potentially go up to 20 weeks. At this point, I think we're going to guess that it'll be closer to the 8 and potentially maybe 9 months.
Thank you.
Sure. And did you have another question, I think? Did I miss the second question or no? Or was just
No,
one?
I just had a question and a comment. Thank you very much.
Okay, sure.
I have a question. The existing playground will stay until during construction, correct?
Yes, to closer to the new playground being finished. We are going to keep the existing playground open, and in this particular project, we are very fortunate. We are moving the project to another site instead of torn down the old one to build a new one. So we are able to do that. However, because the stormwater management, we need to reforest the area. Partially like overlap with the existing playground. So was almost towards the end of the construction, we are going to turn down the old playground and then reforest part of it and then return the rest of the site to open space.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Great.
Anybody else?
Hi, this is Brian. Thank you for the presentation. I think it's very interesting. One question. That looks like the new playground will be right where there's one of the 2 gates that goes into the dog park. So that is the gate going to remain there, so people will bring their dogs through the playground equipment to go into the park?
Dawn, do you want to point out where the dog park is on this?
The dog park is about here.
I'm looking at it wrong because when I see where it says existing shelter, that's the picnic area.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, gotcha. All right. So I'm looking at it wrong. I was thinking that was existing shelter where there's a board and you go into the park. So I'm with you. Okay. Never mind. Sorry.
That's right.
And I know you had mentioned just one more thing about the reforestation. Any plans to plant some more trees? I know that you guys are going ahead and building a new park with as minimal impact as possible for the existing tree canopies we have. But we did just lose 2 trees over at Towers Park Dog Park. So
Yes, we are putting in new trees in the reforestation area because there are requirement before we can call it a reforestation. There will be not only trees, but there will be bigger trees, smaller trees, shrubs, and ground covers. There will be layers of vegetation in order to just better protect the water quality, and we can claim that as storm water management.
perfect.
And
Thank you.
Penrose loves trees, so the more trees, the better.
Great. We hear you.
Anybody else? Final call. Okay. Well, thank you both so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. We're looking forward to this.
Absolutely. And again, if you have any additional questions or stuff comes up, questions you have, just feel free to reach out to Joanne, myself. We'll introduce also the construction manager at some point with probably a letter out to the Civic Association, kind of just letting you know, what the next few months will look like and who you could reach out to if you have construction questions, and they should be very helpful as well.
Perfect. Thank you. And I'll be sure to disseminate that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Have a good evening, folks.
You as well.
Take care.
Bye.
So, I think you might still be on this screen share. Let's do. Okay, perfect. Okay, let me see. So I told Whitney 8 p.m. So we might have a 5-minute interlude here.
We can talk about some other things in the meantime. We have some updates that I can talk about. The Arlington Cemetery construction is going to start soon. They are going to start construction by creating a road at the end of Foxcroft Heights, where the Navy Annex fence met up with the houses there between can't remember, but they're going to create a new road, and that's going to be the first part of it. So we should see that pretty soon. I don't have a date on it, but it's impending. That's good news.
I see. Go ahead, Pete.
No, that's okay. We can go. I would just fill in some time.
I see Whitney and Anna Jane. Perfect. Okay. Let me pull up my screen share again here. Okay. Hey, Whitney.
Hi, everyone.
And Anna Jane, I'm sorry, I didn't know you were joining us. I had made a whole slide, little intro for Lexi. So
That is A-okay.
And Anna Jane.
Just pretend I'm Lexi.
So we have Whitney Kernoodle. She is the president of Black Parents of Arlington and a co-founder of Arlington for Justice. So she's going to be providing us with an update for the upcoming Ride for Black, second annual Ride for Black Lives on October 2nd. And then there's Lexi's slide. But we have Anna with us tonight. So you all can take it away.
All right, thank you. So, Alex, how much do people know about Arlington for Justice? Should I give a brief info?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, give them a brief overview of AFJ and BPA. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. So I'm Whitney Kernoodle. As Alex said, I'm the co-founder and current president of Black Parents of Arlington, as well as a co-founder of Arlington for Justice. Black Parents of Arlington was created in 2017 by 3 Black moms as a vehicle for change for Black students in APS. As we know that when we work for Black students, the work that we do to ensure equity also helps all marginalized students. So that's pretty much been our mission. That's what we've been doing. In 2020, I was asked to join Arlington for Justice based on a lot of the advocacy that I had done, along with there were 9 members who were various activists in the county and various racial and social justice organizations and institutions. And after not only the killing of George Floyd, the killing of Breonna Taylor, the killing of a multitude of Black people in America, and then particularly after the incident in Lafayette Square, where Arlington's police were called to and violated the rights of peaceful protesters, many of whom were Arlington residents themselves. So we had a situation, even though it was across the bridge, where Arlington police were involved in brutality against Arlington residents. And so basically there were 9 of us, 8 women, 1 man, 5 of us Black women, who joined together and wrote a 9-page position paper to Mark Schwartz and the county board, asking for various things, among them body-worn cameras, SROs removed from schools, all sorts of things that we have been able to, in conjunction with organizations like the NAACP, I saw JD there, to do. So we've been able to effectuate a lot of change. And what we do is we really, we're working as an advocacy organization, again, with other organizations like the NAACP, like Black Parents of Arlington, Justice for Virginia, Moms Demand Action, that have been around. And we have figured out a real good niche for us is doing different events and carrying on. So last year in September, I believe, we did the first Ride for Black Lives. There's a lot of bike enthusiasts in the area. I am not one of them, but my husband happens to be. Anna Jane happens also not to be one of them. But we are doing, it was a Ride for Black Lives, and basically going to various areas in Arlington that were significant in the lives historically for Black Americans in Arlington. And it was a very successful event. And so we're doing it as a fundraiser again this year. So basically I can go over the overview. So the event is going to be on October 2nd at 2:00 at Drew Elementary. It's a 12-mile event. There's also a family ride that starts at 3, that starts at TJ Middle School, for anyone who either has young children or any seniors or anyone who wants to participate in the ride but isn't able to do the full 12 miles. And as you can see here, we'll start at Drew Elementary School. We're going to make our way to Arlington Lodge 58, then to the segregation wall, to Arlington County Fire Station 8, then to the former Stratford Junior High, which is the current Dorothy Ham, then to Cherrydale Drug Fair. And then we stop at Penrose, which, as many of you probably know, was the first platted and subdivided in 1882 by prominent leaders in the Black American community. So Anna Jane has just put in the chat where you can register for the ride. And let me see if there anything. So there's going to be event t-shirts. Oh, boom, there we go. Thank you, Alex. So that's where you can register or sponsor or volunteer. You can certainly learn more about BPA and A4J at those. We can throw those into the chat as well. Anything else? Anna Jane, did you want to talk a little bit more about the fundraising component?
Sure. Sorry, I am out and about right now, so I appreciate everyone. Thank you again for pretending like I am Lexi. Like Whitney was talking about, this Ride for Black Lives is our 2nd annual, and it is Lexi and another volunteer, Colin Henry's brainchild. Lots of bike enthusiasts in the Arlington area. And so last year was just a free-for-all in many ways. Lots of people came, and this year we're doing it a little bit differently. So there is a registration link that I did drop in the chat. Registration is on a sliding scale this year. So it's a pay what you can in $5 increments up to $25. There is also complimentary, and that's just to make it accessible to the community. And so if that is something that you can pay what you can. And if it's not something that you're able to afford, please feel free to utilize that complimentary ticket. We're trying to get a good head count to share with Arlington ACPD for all of this. And so it is really essential that you do sign up before you do come. We will be selling t-shirts. I'm not sure if Whitney mentioned that either. Those are going to be $20, and we will have that at the event. I'm trying to think about anything else. Oh, a few other ways to get involved. If you're interested in having your business sponsor, you can also do that as well. Feel free to get in contact with me directly. We can drop my email in the chat as well. That information is on our registration page, which has the registration, sponsor, volunteer, all of those things. There's a few different levels, and we certainly do work our best to, try and get your sponsors, excuse me, your business out, both on social media and all of our marketing material. And we appreciate, the support from both individuals and businesses in the Arlington community.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Anna, I'm not sure if you're able to chat from looking on your phone. I'm happy to put your email address if you want to just recite that.
I just did. I threw it in there for her.
Oh,
Thank
got it.
you.
Perfect. Thank you, Whitney.
Teamwork. No problem.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And before you
Just
both
let-
go, I wanted to point out exactly where the event or where the bike path is going to be coinciding with Penrose. So it's going to be right on 2nd Street and South Walter Reed Drive here. So that'll be cool. And I'll be out taking pictures, so y'all see me there. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Whitney and Anna Jane. Appreciate having you both on.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us. Take care, everyone.
Does anyone have any
Hey.
questions before we go?
I don't see any hands raised.
No, but I hope it all goes
Yep.
well.
Last
and,
year was a
everybody will have a good
success,
time.
so it's going to be another rip-roaring one this year. So I'm looking forward to it. Awesome.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much, Whitney, and I appreciate having you both on, taking the time.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thanks all. Take care.
Bye-bye.
See ya. Okay, well, that's everybody. So now, Pete, did you have any other updates you wanted to go through?
Needed to unmute. We can talk about this stuff first, the candidate slate, and then move on to the others. It won't take a lot of time. Yeah, so I'll talk about the candidates for our next term starts at the next meeting, October 19th, and we will be electing our new president because I am dropping off, and Alex has graciously agreed to volunteer to be our president. I'm so psyched. I think it's going to be wonderful for us. And so we have as Vice President George Strauss. I'm going to move to Secretary Treasurer for a year or so, just to sort of help make the transition. And then we will have Darcy agreed to stay on as the NCAC.
I have a typo there. That's supposed to be it's before A, but NAC.
Yes, I looked at it too before we published it. I didn't see it. And then Stephanie is our longstanding representative at the hall. She keeps people honest and is really a good representative. I just got a note that my internet is unstable. Did you see me or did I freeze up or something? We have some other committees, namely the Green Committee that Terry, she has some issues going on right now and she needs to back off. But if somebody would be willing to take that on, we could do it. Also, as things go on, here, oh, sorry, something flashed on my screen and I lost my train of thought. Oh, if we need to adjust our officers, we can do that. We had, for example, Meredith had talked to me about wanting to do more social media kinds of things. We have money in our coffers. We can do events. I am not a good person. I'm great at participating, but organizing is not my forte. And so if somebody wants to take on a role of events or something like that, it's all it can be strict or it can be fluid. I've always been rather fluid with it. So, keep that in mind. Anyway, so we will vote next meeting and go on from there.
Excellent. And with some of that money we have in our coffers, I've talked with Chris Slatt And I'm definitely very keen on getting our website up to date for 2021 and doing a whole revamp for that. So
Okay.
that would be great.
Yeah, and Alex, you mentioned you knew somebody who could take care of that for us.
I do. Yep.
That would be awesome because, you know, if you rely on volunteers who don't have the skill set, it doesn't get done as well. And that's what has been happening over the past few years. So.
And it won't be a huge lift, you know, somewhere I can imagine ballpark $300 to $500 for a website that'll last us well into the next decade or so.
Excellent. Perfect.
Very passionate about getting us, bringing us up to 2021.
Okay. What we'll need is to get an estimate and bring it to the group and have an approval thing done.
Absolutely.
I don't think it'll be a problem. Okay, so that's that. What else is that the last slide? I don't recall.
Let me double check. Yes.
Oh,
that's
well,
it.
All right. I just had some other updates about stuff going on. We talked about Arlington Cemetery. We talked about the Treasury. Our election is October 19th, so y'all come back for that meeting. Oh, and things that we did. We had a social meeting last month, and that was fun. We went to the Taqueria and drank and ate and chatted, and it was great. Alex did a really lovely historical tour of Penrose where I guess it was about 15 people maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we walked around. Alex took us around and showed us historical places. And believe it or not, there are a lot of historical places in Penrose. So we may have to repeat that at times. Let's see. Another thing is, you know, this upcoming election includes a seat on the county board. And I would encourage people to use the resources that we have to look at what people are saying on these forums that are being recorded and sent around. Also, the NAACP did a beautiful questionnaire of all of the candidates for county board, and it's published. I think I forwarded that around to people on the listserv, and I think I did it on Facebook too.
Yeah, I believe it's on Facebook.
Yeah, it's a really wonderful summary. The people who are running were asked to comment on specific questions, and their comments are very interesting to read. So it's definitely helped me pick who I'm going to vote for. So there's that. I just got notice before this meeting that there's a report of the thing called the Missing Middle Initiative in Arlington, that it just came out. I don't know what it contains, but I don't know if everybody on this call is aware. The Missing Middle Initiative is Arlington County's push to allow more density in smaller spaces. For example, take down a house and put 2 houses up, or multi-family dwellings where single family houses were before. And that's a really top line summary of what's going on with it. So it'll be very interesting to see what they're saying. There's a lot of controversy about it. There's concern that allowing developers to build as much as they can in small places will end up in density that the county can't really support. And also that the buildings that will be built will not necessarily be affordable. And that's important to remember, because the missing middle effort came from the notion that Arlington needed houses that would be affordable by teachers and firefighters and people who work in Arlington. And it's looking like that. And this part of it was kind of pushed aside, and now it's about density. So it's all very interesting. But I would encourage people to read that when it gets sent around. We also have some things going on with form-based code. Stephanie, are you able to talk? I know she was going to tag team 2 meetings this evening.
I think she's off the call. She put in the chat earlier that she was jumping off at like.
Oh, I didn't see that. Okay.
8:10 or 8:05 or so. So yeah.
Okay. Well, let me give you a brief summary of form-based code. form-based code is a set of architectural and design requirements for building along Columbia Pike. And the idea is if you just sort of codify what you can do here, then it makes it easier for developers to work with the county as opposed to going through the county's kind of convoluted site plan review, which is very time consuming and expensive for the county as well as for the developers. So there is this document called form-based code, and Stephanie was on that committee. And it's been in place since something like 2014, I think. And of course, like all documents, you need to look at it periodically and figure out what's good and what's not good, and maybe we should change this or that. And one thing that was happening is retail, the nature of retail changed. Initially, buildings were specified to have retail on the first floors and then apartments above. Well, as we all know, retail is not as robust as it used to be. And so a lot of buildings were built and then spaces were not being rented out for a variety of reasons. And part of the reason, and one thing about the form-based code is it said you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do, you can't have a noisy place, you can't have, they wanted businesses that promoted pedestrian access, liveliness on the boulevard. And in that they had a big list of things that you shouldn't do there. Well, it's been supported up and down the pike that they should get rid of that language and go to don't prescribe what you can or cannot put there. Let's just state a few things that you shouldn't do. For example, there is a big feeling that you shouldn't have things like payday loan stores or vape shops and things that people felt were not in the best interest of people who live here. So that kind of thing. Anyway, that's being proposed, and I think it's going to make things easier for businesses along the pike. Anyway, that's all I have. So there you are. Any questions about that?
Anyone have any additional questions, comments, concerns before we close it out? Guess everybody's good. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for joining us this evening and taking the time. Really appreciate it.
What's on the agenda for next month besides the election of officers?
Go ahead, Pete.
Well, we were thinking about asking the police to come.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a response saying that they would be willing to do it, but it was kind of like, we'll talk about the dates. And I sent them the date of the next meeting. Of course, I didn't hear anything. So I might need to be make more of an active request rather than use email. But yeah, there's that one. Do you have a suggestion?
Not at this time. I was just curious.
Mm-hmm. I gotta start planning that out. I've been planning this one down on the wire with the PowerPoint and all the other stuff. So now that we're done with this and start looking ahead towards next month. And I definitely, want to have, if I can get her or any of the other school board members to get Barbara Cannon on to answer some follow-up questions about the school bond, particularly Stephanie's concerns, that'd be great. So I'll definitely put some feelers out to her.
Okay.
I'm going to stop the recording now and we'll post a link as soon as it's available.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you, Judy. You're the best.
Okay.
For Kelly.